G'day guys, it's Matt Preston, Built Cruisers. Welcome back to the channel. Brand new intro, Built Cruisers. Now we've got the Hima Gen2 Kalbarri rooftop tent, and this is actually a 1 year review video. We've had it for that long, can't believe it. We're one of the first ones in Australia to get one, and which means we're in the lead essentially for ownership. And I've had this for pretty much a year now, and I've gone maybe over 20 nights of sleep in it. So we're at camp now, and I thought we'd do a 1 year review of the tent. Okay, so last year I did a trip with some boys and we went from Adelaide all the way to Melbourne via off-road, and I slept in it pretty much like 7 days in a row, and it held up just fine. Had it on top of the car like this and no dramas whatsoever, no water got in, no leakage. You can get a bit of moisture near the top, but it's more or less from your own breath at night when you breathe, so no complaints there at all. And as you can see there, I've got a 200-watt solar panel on there on the little racks there, so it can actually take a fair bit of weight on top, which is good. And I've also had a surfboard up there before and it holds that just fine, and it still opens with the gas struts. Now I recommend putting the weight more on the lower end, so then the gas struts have less work to lift up. So you can see here, this one's got 3 hinge system at the front. Now I know some of the bigger tents like Bush Company and even Kings, they'll have like 5 or 4, quite a lot. But 3 is just enough. This is literally fine for what it is. Now remember, this tent is only 70 kilos, so it's more on the lighter end of rooftop tents, and also the dimensions are a bit smaller, which is good for me because I got a Prado and it's a little bit smaller than a Land Cruiser, so it kind of fits in more proportionally with the car, I personally think. Whereas if you get the big Kings tents, they're kind of really big and chunky, and they're like a big brick on the roof and they just don't look very good, whereas this sort of fits in quite nicely, but it is also a little bit smaller, so you and your partner, when you're in there, I wouldn't say you're shoulder to shoulder, but you can definitely tell it's not as wide as the other tents. But you do get that little back section that folds out, which gives you about 30% more room. So we'll say that this is good for that reason. And this is very similar to the Darchi Ridgeback. It's got the same system as this one, it's just like double the price. So this is a great option if you want all the Darchi features, but at an affordable price compared to Darchi. So that is a good thing about this tent. This ladder, had it obviously for over a year now, still holding up just fine. It's been in the rain, it's had dirt on it and everything, and it still closes up just nicely. So the ladder's held up all right as well. And you know, I'm about 100 kilos and it's held my weight just fine. I'm gonna be really picky, so it does probably have a very slight bend in it though from over the last year of using it, but it has held up literally fine. So with my setup, the way I've set up mine is I hook my ladder just here on the side, and I actually take the match tracks off, and then I use a little shoe bag that comes with it, and this is great. So if you're camping somewhere and there's lots of like residue overnight, or the water gets obviously in your shoes and that sort of stuff, this is a great shoe bag to have. We use it every time, and it's actually double layered, so you can put big shoes at the top, little ones at the bottom, and it's got little Velcro straps. And you can also hook it on, well, I've hooked it on the Max Tracks holder, so when you're in the tent you can take your shoes off and put them on from that spot there, and they'll be waterproof overnight, which is a great idea by Hima. Okay, so up here, this is the most comfortable place you want to be. The mattress is 70mm thick and it's got a really nice covering on it, very soft, is very nice. And for this corner here, it's got 2 little notches out so the poles can come in and then pivot and form this sort of extra 30% of the wall out here. So very comfy mattress, I think it does alright. Now I'm 6'4" and I fit in here just fine, as you can see, sitting up. I've still got almost half a meter above my head to the very top of this tent here, okay? Now up here on the wall you've got 6 storage pockets. They're good, they work. Like in here we put sleeping bag covers, torches, phones, that sort of stuff, but I do wish they had a few more options. Some tents get really creative and they'll have massive zips or clear through pockets so you can watch movies with your phone up there. So it's a bit of a basic design, but it works, okay? So it depends how picky you are with that. And you've also got 2 pockets down here in the corner, which are very comfy. And then obviously, unlike lots of tents, you have a skylight, which is pretty cool. We don't really use it that much. I wouldn't say it's a gimmick, but normally when you go to bed you just want it to be dark so you can sleep, so when you have it open it's quite bright. But it is cool, it does work very well, and you can open the zip fly, and if you undid this cover at the very top, which is the rainproof barrier, you could actually stick your head out the roof, which is quite funny. So very, very comfy up here. I like the colour as well, it's like a nice dark grey, and there is also a nice little light strip up here that goes around the pole, but it's good and it works, but the button is a little touchpad button. I wish it was an actual physical button, and it runs off a power bank, which is fine. You can either bring your power bank up, or if you connect your second battery wires up through here, that's another great idea. But this can, we've literally just put a torch up here because it's a little bit easier. So I will say after a while that does get a bit redundant. So this is just things I've picked up over camping in it for over 20 days. So, but besides that, there's not much more to complain. Packing up's easy. You just undo these poles, they swing up, velcro them on this side here, and then you pop the poles out, fold them down, and it collapses in and you pull it down. So it's pretty straightforward. Now the latches on the tent, which are at the very top up there, they work wonderfully. Haven't had any dramas with them at all. When you get the tent, it does come with a little key, so you're meant to sort of like close it and lock it, so no one opens it randomly. But I ended up not using the key at all, and I just close it and I don't even lock it, and I've literally been fine. So I think that's a bit unnecessary to have that system. I get it from a safety, so no one can break in your tent sort of thing, but normally you can't really steal anything in the tent really, because normally there's nothing in there but the mattress. So that's another thing to mention. But yes, I just lock it, and also you can actually spin it. If you sort of get your fingers and you grab each side of the lock, you can spin it with your hand. So even if you did lock it successfully, you can just unlock it with your fingers. So I'm not really sure about that system. I don't really think it's necessary, but I will say the hatches work beautifully, and you just close it like normally, and then that's it. There's no reason to lock it. And also I think the tent also looks very attractive, I guess you could say, in one sense, because I don't like tents that have the big sort of little awnings that come off with the big long metal bendy poles. I think they look, I don't know, I just think they look a bit goofy and not very nice, whereas this is very sharp jagged edges. There's no extra awnings flapping off any side, and it just looks quite sleek. So I really think they've done well there. And also that skylight protective layer, it's almost like a tent. It's got that second layer of a wall, so when it rains, a lot of the rain will run off that top layer and not get to the bottom layer underneath. So that's good, because lots of other tents don't have that dual layer. Another great thing about this rooftop tent is that the windows and doors, whatever you want to call them, they're really, really big. Now I know that sounds silly, but if you look at the Gen 1 version of this tent, or most rooftop tents, they're almost half the size. Now the reason this is good is, one, if you have 2 or 3 people up there, you can all sit on the edge, hang your legs out. 2, bigger openings means more fresh air can come in, more bad air can come out, and you've also got more nice natural light coming in as well. So this has got 4 openings really, 1 in the roof and 3 on the sides. So they've really maximized the amount of windows they could. And as you can see, it's got a nice sort of thin frame, and the window is quite massive. So that's another pro as well. And if you're getting in, or if you're walking up the ladder with a sleeping bag or something, there's a lot more space to get in. So lots of pros and not many cons to having bigger windows. So that is a good idea they've done there. Okay guys, well that's the end of the review. The Hima Gen 2 Kalbarri rooftop tent. Now I love it, I've had it for a year. There's pros and cons, mostly pros. So the only cons really is having a lock for the latch is a bit pointless, because you can just open it whenever pretty much. And if I'm getting really picky, maybe the size of it, but that's not really its fault. I could just get a tent that's a bit bigger. But if you're definitely not a huge person, it's definitely fine. But if you're sort of 6'4" or over, you might want to reconsider, just because there are slightly wider and longer tents on the market. But I'm happy with this one because it sort of suits the size of the car, and I'm not camping every single night. So just for having it like this every 2 months or so, perfect. So I love it, I think it's great. If you want to get one yourself, go on Vic Off-Road's website, you can use my code BuiltPrado, get 10% off. And yeah, I'm stoked with it. So if you have any questions, put them down below, and hopefully this helps you out if you're trying to buy one or not. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time on Built Cruises.